anytime I'm presented with an absolute value, anything, equation, inequality, anything like that, I want to make sure that the first step I take is to isolate the absolute value bars. So if I'm solving an equation like example 1 here, I need to identify the absolute value term right there. And then I start to see there's 2 steps I have to do in order to isolate them. I'm going to have to subtract 1 to get rid of that, and I'm going to have to divide by 3 because he's attached with multiplication. So I'm going to do both of those steps at once. Whenever I go ahead and isolate by subtracting 1, I get 12 divided by 3, I get 4. So the absolute value of 2x minus 4 equals positive 4. So now I stop and I think, okay, if I need the absolute value to equal 4, that means I need to make everything inside equal one of 2 things. Either the inside can equal 4, so 2x minus 4 could equal 4, or the inside of the absolute value bars could equal negative 4. Because if the inside equals negative 4, when I take the absolute value, I'll get a positive. So notice I get 2 equations, right here and right here, whenever I go to solve this absolute value. And from here, they're just linear. So in this one, I'm going to add 4 over, get 2x equals 8, divide by 2, I get x equals 4. That is one of my possible solutions. Over here, I'm going to add 4 over and get 2x equals 0, divide by 2, x equals 0. That is the second of my possible solutions. So one thing to note, I'm going to put it over here, when the absolute value bars, not the 11s, the absolute value bars equal a positive, then I'm going to have 2 solutions. It's important that we're able to find both of those solutions by setting our absolute value equal to the right-hand side and the opposite of the right-hand side. So that's the first scenario that can happen, is absolute values equal a positive. In example 2, again, I have an absolute value, so I need to isolate the absolute value bars first. I'm multiplying by 1/4, so to get rid of him, multiply by the reciprocal on both sides, which in this case is kind of a fruitless exercise, because I get the absolute value of x minus 7 still equals 0, even when I isolate it. So again, I go through that reasoning in my head and say if I want to make the absolute values equal 0, the stuff inside has to equal 0. So x minus 7 equals 0. Notice the difference. I don't have a plus and a minus 0 this time. I just have 0. So over here, if I summarize, if the absolute values equal 0 once I've isolated them, there is 1 solution. Notice how I wrote 1 equation. And in order to solve that equation, I just add 7 over and get x equals positive 7. Again, I couldn't set it to the positive and the negative of 0 because 0 is a little bit different. He's neither positive nor negative. So I only have 1 solution in this case. So absolute value bars equal 0, 1 solution. Lastly, example 3. Let's go through my same process. I have an absolute value equation. Now, I can't just look here and say, oh, the absolute values equal a positive, so there's 2 solutions. That would be a very sad thing because I haven't isolated the absolute value bars yet. I don't really know if they equal a positive or a negative or 0. So let's isolate the absolute value. I'm going to take this step by step. I subtract the 5, so I end up getting the negative absolute value of 6x minus 5 equals 5. Now don't be confused, they're not isolated yet. There's still this negative 1 coefficient here that I have to get rid of. So I need to divide both sides by negative 1. So once I finally get the absolute value bars by themselves, 6x minus 5, then I get equal to negative 5. And I stop and I think, okay, when do my absolute values equal a negative? And the answer is never. Absolute value by definition is non-negative. So in this case, I stop, I don't write any equations, and I just give my answer as no solution. There is no x value that will make that equation true. So to summarize, if my absolute values equal a negative, then I have no solution. So it's possible that I would have 1 solution, no solution, or 2 solutions. But the key is I can't find how many solutions there are until I have isolated the absolute value.